Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at the Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place, another land, another time.
Hello. Debbie Heiser here. I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money doing what they love to do. And I am here today, the first part of October, which is the first part of fourth quarter. And I have a couple of questions for you. This is going to be a shorter podcast, but a really impactful one is my hope. So give us some shout outs if you find it to be impactful. But what I really want to talk about is, okay, first of all, I can't believe we're already in October. Time continues to go very quickly. But looking at the fact that we are in the last 90 days of 2024. And so think back to when you looked at 2024. I'm not a big, huge New Year's resolution person, but I'm big on setting goals. Sometimes the goals are a year, sometimes they're 3 years, sometimes they're 5 years. Sometimes they're impact driven, sometimes they're monetarily driven. Sometimes it's because I'm being someone and evolving into something a little different than what I've been in the past. And so I want to be that kind of woman. And so there's things that happen around that. But the point being is I want you to go back a year from now and think about what were you doing last October? And I want you to, if you're driving or whatever, don't stop, or you can stop if you want to, but don't wreck and try to do this. But I really want you to think about and look back, and we're going to do this in short segments. I want you to look back at the last 90 days. What were all of the things that you have done, that you have accomplished personally and professionally, right? Like when I work with people, it's about a lit up life, not just a lit up business. It's about relationships. It's about your environment. It's about contributions to your community. It's about emotional health, physical health, intellectual health. I know I'm forgetting one, but it's looking at your business. It's looking at your finances. It's looking at your spiritual health. Like, where were you? What did you do in the last 3 months in regards to those areas? Now, along with that, then look at who were you being? How were you being different? Had you shifted? Have you grown? Have you learned? Right? What are those things? And then add 3 more months to it, and 3 more months, and 3 more months. You get the picture so that you can look back over the year and look at all of the things. Now, sometimes people look at and say, okay, if you have a baseline, and imagine at the bottom of your screen, or if you're listening, it's just at the bottom, that's where you were. And about halfway up is where you are now. And then where you want to be is kind of at the top. And I'm not talking about hustle. I'm just talking about in this evolutionary process of continuing to grow and develop in your psyche, in your how you think, the essence of who you're being and who you are. Look at that and think about all of the things, all of the ways that you've been. And that is the game. Because then we live in this world, is where I was going. Then if you think about a line at the top of the screen where you want to be, we tend to focus on where we're at and where we still need to go and where the gap is, what we haven't done. And if you haven't read the book, The Gap and the Gain, I highly recommend listening to it. That's one of those I prefer to listen to, actually. And so it's about staying in that gain mentality. So part of this is going back and uncovering and looking at all of those things that shifted for you that maybe you've been working on for a while. Maybe it's something new. Relationships were a big thing for me. I'd kind of gotten really focused on building my business and went through kind of a dichotomy of tension moment where I realized I was building something I really didn't want to build. And, but I had gone down a pattern that was fairly frequent about growing and becoming bigger and bigger. And I decided that's not really what I want because I wasn't leading my own lit up life for a few months there with that tension. So I was able to identify that. That's huge, right? It set a slightly different trajectory. I still do the same work, but it helped me focus in and really get clear. So I want you to go back and look at all of those areas and really look at them in a way that's not just, oh, I accomplished this, because we live in an accomplishment society where it's do, 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 do. And I'm here to tell you the hustle is overrated. So it is about getting stuff done, but it's also about who you've been. Who are you being? What is your personality? What are you loving in life? What are the wins for you, right? So go back and do that. Take a break from for just a second on listening to this and go back and list those things out. Then what I want you to do, okay, so hit stop, come back. So then when you come back, what I'd like you to do is look at now any goals that you had and ask yourself the question, what would it take to not only end the year strong, because I'm going to get to this point here in a minute, but what would it take? So if I had a goal to maybe financially make so much money and I'm short by, I'm making this up, 20 grand, I would ask myself the question, what would it take to make 20 grand between now, October 1st, or I think you might be listening to this actually on October 1st until December 31st. And then it allows me to have ideas, generate some things, and I can then potentially go forward with that, right? If it's, I want to lose 50 pounds and I still need to lose 40, probably not the most realistic. So I'm going to push that into 2025, right? And besides that, I'm not going to lose it because that infers I'm going to gain it back, right? So but the point being is like, look at that. And it's okay to change some time frames. It's not that you want to, like on the $20,000 one, I gave you the example of where then I would ask myself that question, but there are some things that just, it's not going to happen in those 3 months. So look at it realistically. Then we're going to take a quick break and it'll be a little promo on some things we have going on that you can hear about. And we're going to come back and I'm going to kind of finish this segment of then looking at the last 90 days as not the last. So we'll be right back. Are you a woman who's worn out from wearing all the hats that we wear and you're really ready for a break? Well, join us for an empowering experience in beautiful Sandpoint, Idaho from October 24th to the 27th. This exclusive retreat is designed for women just like you. The Cast Your Vision retreat will have transformative workshops, expert guidance and coaching from me, and a supportive community to hold your hand along the way. Don't miss this opportunity to invest in yourself and your future. Get crystal clear on who you want to be and make that dream into a reality. Register today with the link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Okay, we're back. I've asked you to take a look at, list out all of the things that you've accomplished and done over the last year. Look at who have you been? How have you changed in how you approach things? How have you changed in maybe you've embraced more of your feminine if you're both male or female, meaning like you've been able to receive, that you've been able to respond to things. Maybe you're someone that you've always waited and you don't necessarily go do the action and you've stepped into more of the masculine and you've been able to do some of the things that need to be done. Whatever that is, I'm hoping you took the time to reflect on that. If you've noticed some patterns, that I don't like the word self-sabotage because we're smart people. If we knew for the most part what we were doing wrong, we'd stop it. But if for some reason you're finding some patterns, you want to talk about those, figure out how to break those patterns, set up a clarity call with me. Go to the website in the show notes, set up some time with me. I'd love to be able to help you get clear. And I promise you, 30 minutes, I can help people get pretty darn clear at the end of that. But what I want us to look at now is this last 90 days doesn't mean I see some people kind of coast it, right? Oh, I'm pretty close to making my goals. if I just left everything the same, it's going to happen. Now, where I struggle with this is I want you to be able to relax some, but what I want you to do is think about how can you start 2025 off strong? Well, how you start 2025 off strong is you start now thinking about, and if you haven't, and there'll be a podcast on this shortly about what your values are and your intentions, but like thinking about who you want to be, thinking about what is important to you, what are your values, what's your compass that will direct you in 2025, and start thinking and answer the question, I am a man or I am a woman who. So, for instance, in financial, I am a woman who has financial freedom. Then that helps you break down what are some beliefs I have about that, right? What are some of the money struggle beliefs that I have? Then it helps me break down what does that really mean, right? It means I pay off my debt on my house, pay off my debt on my home equity line of credit. It means that I'm able to have gifting. It means I'm able to travel. Like I then start to define what that looks like. And then I set tasks around that because the goal for me is juicy. The goal is that I'm financially free. Right. And we tend to look at goals as I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When in fact, those are tasks to reach that goal. Goals should excite you. Right. So what is it that you're looking at for 2025? What are some things that you've started that maybe need to carry over into 2025? What is it that you are looking at? Like many of I'm single and I've been looking at the fact that I'm ready to date again. And so when I look at that, one of the things that I've noticed is I hang around with a lot of women, which is awesome. But if I want to meet other men, which is my preference, then if I want to meet single men, I need to put myself in situations where there are other single men. So one of my goals is to look at that and be a woman who integrates into both in areas where there are both men and women, right? And that I'm open to that. So I bring that up to you because then I want you to start thinking about who is it that I want to be? What is it that I want to do in 2025? And I'll go more into kind of this values and intention piece of it because it's important that you have that. What I really want you to think about is goals are not necessarily tasks. Goals are the outcome and not necessarily the outcome of the action, meaning like I'm going to shed 40 pounds, right? The goal is that I am practicing longevity and that I have good range of motion and movement and that I am potentially feel younger than what my age is, right? Like that to me is a goal. That's juicy. That has a why behind it. And that's really important is figure out what that why is, figure out what for you is the driver of that, right? If it's fear-based, like I'm not afraid to die. What I really want to do is be able to have the energy to have my 3.5-year-old grandson and my new grandson who's a few months old and be able to babysit them and have the energy to do that, right? And be able to play and jump off the thing at the lake lot and do the swinging and do those things that some people their bodies don't allow for that, right? So then I can ask the question, what does it take for me to be able to do that? And then those are the tasks, right, that I would do. But it's really important to understand the why behind that and really get to the heart of it. I have a worksheet that's called the why, the 5 whys. And you ask yourself, if I want this, why? And then you dig deeper and say why. And you just keep asking the question why until you get to the point of something that really moves you, that's in your heart about it. Could be security, could be safety, could be that you want to continue to grow and learn. So, a goal is to um, be a consistent learner. And how you do that is maybe it's signing up to get a master's or signing up for some other classes. If you want to spark into creativity, maybe it's signing up for a painting class, whatever it is. Those are the tasks, but think about who you want to be, right? Like, I want to be financially free. I want to be someone that has a big impact in the world. Then that becomes the business piece for me. So what does that look like from a business perspective? And then you can go as deep or far as you want to in each of those sections. But then that helps you identify some of the tasks as you go forward. So end the year strong by reflecting and going back and seeing all of the things that you've accomplished, all of the things you've done, and who you've been, the person you have been on your way to that. And then look at 2025. And if you were to do the same exercise in a year, what do you want to look back on? And answer that question. So with that, folks, it's a wrap. We'll see you next week. Have a great one. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes, and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.